Non sequitur would happen organically.
What's up, YouTube? It's Big Ryan, the Fat Guy. Week 2 is in the books. We have gone 7-1, Fat Guy. We're still waiting on the Monday night game. Are you feeling confident still in the Bears?
Yes, I am feeling confident in the Bears. But come on, the Green Bay game. You guys saw what happened with that referee bullshit. I thought we were playing football here. That was about as gentle as my uncle touches me on the weekend.
Speaking of uncles, let's move on to the picks. Who cares about all this intro stuff? I'm sure there was some funny comments. Thank you as always. Comment in the section below why we're idiots. Thursday night football. New York Jets travel to our Cleveland Browns to take on Hugh Jackson, my main man. 23% are on the Jets, +3. Cleveland's favorites at home somehow. Fat Guy, who you got?
I'm going Jets. I mean, I'll go against my Browns. They put up a good fight against the Saints. I said the Saints were going to make a statement and blow out the Browns. The Saints did make a statement. We're not that good of a football team, apparently. That being said, Cleveland's defense played really well. They're going to be tough to score on. Darnold could have a bad showing against this reasonable Cleveland defense, but I'm still going with the Jets. I don't believe in Cleveland, especially under Hugh Jackson. They're just so disorganized and dysfunctional, I feel. So we're going New York Jets. We're going to take the points. Early bettors seem to be betting on the Browns, so there's a chance that line could creep up to 3.5. So line shoppers, maybe wait around, even though I still think it's going to stand pat at 3.
All right, Fat Guy, let's move on to the Sunday early games. Indianapolis travels to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. So far, no percentages are out, but the Eagles are going to be about 7-point favorites. Who do you like at 7 points, Indy or Philly?
I think this could be the return of Carson Wentz, and if that really is the case, then I'm going to lay the points and see a reinvigorated Philadelphia. We did take Tampa Bay against Philadelphia, and they successfully pulled off another upset with the blingy and flashy Ryan Fitzpatrick. But the Eagles they came up short, but I don't think they will against the Colts. They're favored for a reason. They're defending Super Bowl champions. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in a nice warm return for Carson Wentz, hopefully.
Next up, we have the Bengals traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. Right now, it's pretty much evenly split, 51% on Cincy, 49% on Carolina. Carolina is home 3-point favorites. Who do you like?
Now, we mentioned in our Cincinnati video that about 20 of you saw that the best bet of the year was the Cincinnati Bengals to win the division at 11-1. Now it's looking kind of true. They're up a game and a half considering they have the head-to-head against Baltimore that they won on Thursday, and they've looked pretty good doing it. Now Carolina is a bit of a similar team, I feel like, with better quarterback play, but I think the defense of Cincinnati is a little bit more well-rounded, and Carolina is weaker in spots, capable of being exposed. A.J. Green got 3 touchdowns in, I believe, a quarter or 17 minutes, something like that, on the Thursday nighter. I like Cincinnati. The interesting thing for me is to see how Cincinnati is able to rebound without the load carrying of Joe Mixon. It's going to be some Gio Bernard, that's for sure, and Mark Walton's going to get some snaps, so I'm interested to see how Cincinnati rebounds here. Maybe A.J. Green's going to be used more. Tyler Boyd will certainly be used. Maybe John Ross will show up on the stat line a little bit. So I want to see how Cincinnati is able to lumber on without their, I guess, star running back. I guess he's earned that designation now in Cincinnati.
Next up, we move on to Tennessee Titans traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. Right now, there is no percentage on the game. Jags are about 6.5-point favorites. Fat Guy, who do you like at 6.5?
I think the Jags are the best team in the league, guys. I really do. I think I said that before last week when they were able to beat the Patriots pretty handily. I mean, and it wasn't the way you would have thought. It was the offense that was humming along more or less. I'm not saying that every game is going to be so smooth with that offense, and it looked kind of good without Fournette. So maybe they're going to be able to open it up throughout the season. But I expect Fournette back, and I expect him to pound the rock. And even though this is a tough divisional game, and Tennessee seems to play them well every year, Jacksonville is, I believe, the best team in the league. So I'm going to put my money on the best team in the league.
Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Only 34% of bettors are on the Falcons, -3. Fat Guy, who you got?
Can you listen to how Canadian Big Rye is? New Orleans. It's Nolans, bro. Get with it. I like the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're a better team. Much like when they played Carolina last week, they won by a touchdown, but it felt like the gap was a little bit bigger. I like the Atlanta Falcons in that division as well. Like I said, they're a better team. New Orleans, they didn't do so well against Cleveland Browns. Cleveland in Cleveland fashion, missing an extra point and missing a field goal. They had a chance to beat the Saints, but if it was any other team, they probably would. Saints are 1-1. They could have been 0-2. You should expect a rebound, but I'm going to go with the Falcons. I'm going to go with the better team.
Next up, we have the Denver Broncos and Case Keenum traveling to Baltimore to take on that vaunted Ravens defense. Fat Guy, 62% are on the Baltimore Ravens, -5. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Ravens. I mean, Denver's probably the worst 2-0 team there is. I mean, people are going to pile on, oh yeah, we won, we beat the Seahawks, we beat the Raiders. So say that aloud again. We beat the Seahawks and we beat the Raiders. Yeah, big deal. And the Raiders game you really should have lost. But the Raiders, in Cleveland Browns fashion, really just gave it up at the end. So I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to be starting them in fantasy on defense, that's for sure. If anybody else can, you definitely should. So I'm going to take the Ravens for sure. And I think Vance Joseph, this could be the start of the unraveling.
Next up, we have the Giants traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. 43% are on the Giants, +3.5 on the road. Fat Guy, who you got?
Despite Odell Beckham's Paris burning, I'm going to take the New York Giants. I mean, it didn't look good necessarily against the Cowboys, and they recovered that pretty awesome onside kick there. That wasn't bad. But I mean, what are we talking about? They weren't that good. They're doing these quick hitter plays. Their O-line is shit, but I still think they're going to be able to beat the Houston Texans. I don't really have faith in Bill O'Brien and that group. I mean, they lost to Tennessee Titans on the weekend, who started Blaine Gabbert. Mind you, they did win on a Kevin Byard fake punt touchdown, which is pretty awesome. But I'm still going to take the New York Giants. And we're getting the points, so let's stick with the G-Men.
Next up, we have the Oakland Raiders traveling all the way over to the East Coast, Miami Dolphins. 42% are on the Dolphins, -3.5. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, Oakland's 0-2, but they're 1-1 in covers. Now, Miami is 2-0, and they're 2-0 in covers. So usually I'm going to go the other way, but I've been ripped on for sleeping on this Miami Dolphins team. And I'm not going to do that this week. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to beat the Oakland Raiders. I mean, on paper, this isn't necessarily a big blowout win for the Miami Dolphins, but it seems like they're just playing more quality football. They've had reasonable showings against two, I guess, reasonable teams. They're not higher level teams in the Jets and the Titans, but I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going to lay the points as much as that behooves me.
Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Washington to take on the Skins. Only 17% of bettors so far have bet the Skins at +3 at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Much like when I visit the bathhouse, that was a mouthful. I'm going to take the Washington Redskins. You guys know how much I love Alex Smith. And this is a good spot here because the Packers lost the game, but they look kind of good doing it, if that's even possible. The Zebras definitely went against them with that embarrassing Clay Matthews roughing the passer, an unnecessary roughness, whatever you want to call it, penalty that erased a Jaire Alexander interception that would have ended the game, with Aaron Rodgers slipping on that key second and short. So I'm going to take the Washington Redskins, and I feel a little bit more confident about this one than the other ones. They didn't look good against the Colts, which is almost good for this game, because they certainly smashed the low-level Arizona Cardinals, which may be the worst team in the league. Yeah, you got competition, Buffalo. So I'm going to take the Washington Redskins.
Next up, after you just mentioned them, the Buffalo Bills travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings.
I really have to pick these fucking games. Are you for real?
26% are on the Bills, +17. Fat Guy, who you got?
Yeah, like, this is just torture. It's torture. Every week. Because it's an escalating scale. They're like, oh, they're not that bad. Okay, they're that bad. They're not that bad. Okay, they're that bad. I mean, you had a guy retire during the game. Something's not going right in Buffalo. I mean, really, who could be crazy enough to take... I'm taking the Bills. You knew it. 17 points. We're going for garbage time. Like, I'm not going, oh, Josh Allen's going to come and tear up that Minnesota defense. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, the Bills, we can lose by 2 touchdowns, can't we? We can do that. It's possible. That defense isn't as bad as people think it is. That offense is dreadful. But, I mean, it kind of got going a little bit. But they're also playing, like, garbage time defense of the LA Chargers. So everyone rips on the Bills, and rightfully so. They look to be of the worst teams in the league. But I'm still going to take them because the points are so high. Minnesota doesn't enter the game and go, hey guys, we better cover the spread for all those rookie bettors out there. They don't do that. They don't give a shit. They win by 10. That's good enough for them. It's a win. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills heading into a disaster zone in Minnesota.
The final Sunday early game is the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. 21% of bettors have San Francisco covering the 6-point spread. Fat Guy, who you got?
Kansas City, how good can you look? They look incredible. They look incredible. Pat Mahomes really got 10 touchdowns, and I wasn't a believer of him. I watched that game. I watched that game closely, and that guy looked pretty good. I have nothing bad to say. Mind you, that Steelers defense is pretty awful. Let's be perfectly honest here, guys. I thought the Steelers would be able to pull it off with their skill position. That was our big bet of the week. Didn't work out. It does happen in this game, but we did hit on some of the other bigger bets like Jacksonville. Mind you, we're supposed to be talking about the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, they could be the real deal, but on defense, I just don't believe it. So I am going to take the San Francisco 49ers. I get the points. San Francisco is capable on offense. They haven't really strung it together as well as they did at the end of last season. But Kyle Shanahan is an excellent offensive mind. He'll find a way to keep the ball and pick apart the Kansas City Chiefs D. I just don't know if they can slow down that offense on defense. That sounds really good saying back-to-back offense and defense. So I'm definitely going to take the 49ers, but I'm curious to see how the 49ers are going to be able to slow down that Chiefs chuck wagon running down a hill offense.
So moving on to the Sunday midday games, we have the Chargers not really traveling anywhere. They're playing the Rams. 50-50 right now. 6.5 point favorites are the Rams. Fat guy, who you like? The underdog Chargers are the favorite Los Angeles Rams.
We have to take a look at this line and kind of piece together what happened during these past 2 weeks. Now the Rams, they had a bad first half against Oakland, but they've played 3 strong halves afterwards. They annihilated Arizona. I didn't really like that game, but I just took Arizona because there's a lot of points. Arizona got annihilated by the Rams. They're a premier team, one of the top 5 teams in the league, let's be perfectly honest. Chargers, they could be decent though, even though they had a bad showing against Kansas City. I think that was a coaching job. They straight just out-muscled, out-talented the Bills, but really what is that saying? I'm going to take the Chargers and the points. That's what I'm thinking. The Rams are riding pretty high. I'm not saying they're going to have an answer necessarily for the interior defensive line of the Rams, or Todd Gurley for that matter, who I believe had a 3-touchdown outing. So I'm going to take the Chargers. I think they have some weapons as well. They're capable of putting points on the board. Chargers plus 6.5, book it.
Next up, we have the Bears traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. 31% of bettors are on the Cardinals at plus 4.5 at home. Fat guy, who you got?
We're going early on this one. The Bears, don't forget, still play tomorrow. So there could be some changes, let's say, that happen during the game, injuries and whatnot. But as it stands, I'm going to take the probably worst team in the league in the Arizona Cardinals. They're getting points at home. Chicago has to travel, and Chicago hasn't exactly been glistening. I think Arizona has the capability of having a decent defense. Not good, not great, but decent. Middle of the pack, let's say. There's a good chance they'll be able to get there with the likes of Chandler Jones. On offense, they're absolutely dreadful. They do have David Johnson, one of the better skill position players in the league. There's a good chance he'll be able to show up. It's going to be tough to stymie that pass rush that the Chicago Bears possess with Khalil Mack and company, but I'm still going to take the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take the points, and hopefully Wilkes can kind of figure something out in the offense. Maybe start Josh Rosen, because Sad Bradford is just absolutely dreadful. Just dreadful. Never hasn't really done much in his entire career. First overall pick. I mean, he had a couple good games for Minnesota, and then he flamed out because of the knee tweak. He's also a little wimpy, it seems, too. I'm going long on this game, considering how insignificant it is, but I'm definitely going to take Arizona and the points.
The final midday game Sunday is the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Right now, the percentages are inconclusive, but the Seahawks should be 3-point favorites at home. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, again, the Seahawks play tomorrow as well, so there could be some changes. Like if Russell Wilson gets hurt tomorrow, this pick will definitely change, but as it stands, I am taking the Seattle Seahawks. Dallas did what I thought they were going to do, and they beat the Giants pretty handily, even though the scoreline doesn't look as lopsided as the game really was. They were able to get it done on defense. Like I said, don't sleep on this Dallas defense. It's really not that bad. However, though, traveling to Seattle is always a tough task. Now, Seattle is also a deprived, talent-wise roster, aside from Russell Wilson and a few other key pieces. The status of Bobby Wagner is in question as he's going to be out for tomorrow's game. So that kind of hurts. And KJ Wright hasn't come back necessarily. So they're really down to Earl Thomas as far as key known star players on defense. On offense, too, it's really just the one-man show. It's the Wilson show. But I think he's going to be able to get it done. He's going to be able to use his legs a little bit. Well, he's going to have to. He's been using his legs forever. He can extend plays. It's always a backseat slop job for Seattle on offense. But I think they're going to be able to get it done, let's be perfectly honest. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to lay the points. And I think the Cowboys are going to have a tough one. They're not going to travel well, I don't think.
Fat Guy, thanks for that backseat flashback. Let's move on to the Sunday night football game where the New England Patriots travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. Only 26% of bettors have the Lions plus 6.5 at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, betting confidence and New England, they kind of go hand in hand. It's because New England has a great track record, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to say perfectly honest, obviously, a lot through this entire series this year, so you're just going to have to deal with it. The Patriots, they played the Jaguars, traveled to a tough game, a revenge game, and they lost. I thought they'd lose. It doesn't mean anything. Patriots are still a good team. Now the Lions, they're 0-2 with Matt Patricia, the former coordinator of the New England Patriots, and it feels like the Lions are coming off the rails a little bit. But you're getting 6.5 points at home. That's not bad. Do I think the Lions are a great team? No. Do I think they're a good team? Not after these 2 weeks. But we can lose by less. We can lose by less than a touchdown. It's possible. So I'm going to take Patricia and the Lions. And Patricia kind of has a little bit of an interior knowledge of New England, being there for so many years. So I'm not sure that's going to come into play, but it could. Stafford had a better game against the San Francisco 49ers on the road. Now he gets to right the ship maybe, and maybe have a good outing against the New England Patriots. So I'm going to take the Detroit Lions to cover against the New England Patriots. They could win. There could be an upset brewing, but I think a cover is more likely.
And last up, Monday Night Football. The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Right now, 54% of bettors are on the Bucs, plus 2.5 at home. Fat Guy, who you got?
I think this is the bet of the week. I mean, I said it last week, and I put my money on the Steelers, and I was rejected at the altar. It did not go well. I mean, it was 21-0, and I'm going to have to give them credit. They busted off 21 points in a row to come back in that game. They are capable of doing it. I thought Ben Roethlisberger was a G. Juju Smith-Schuster looked awesome. James Conner made that ridiculous one-handed catch that didn't count. They have it on offense. It's possible. They have it. Tampa Bay's front seven isn't to be trifled with, though. And the also thing that worries me about taking Pittsburgh in this game, which I am doing, I'm laying the points and taking the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that all these long touchdowns by Tampa Bay, they're busting off big ones. Now, I ripped off Mr. Magoo, Dirk Cutter, but I like that he's swinging for the fences because he knows he's on the hot seat. But after these 2 wins, I think it's definitely got a lot colder. There's these big 75-yard plays, Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin getting in there a little bit.
O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard in a tight end. It's exciting to see. Tampa Bay's playing some exciting football. And then you got John Barrymore, Conor McGregor, Ryan Fitzpatrick looking great at the podium. So I do like the way the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing. But this line is a little bit skewed. I still think Pittsburgh is a stronger football team. But recent events have elevated Tampa Bay's strength in the eyes of the lines makers. Well, the betting public's idea of what the line should be. With upset wins against New Orleans and Philadelphia defending Super Bowl champions, we did call that one right here. But I'm going to take the Steelers. I think this is the bet of the week. Laying 2.5, which is pretty much nothing. You win the game by 3, and you win your bet. Take the Steelers this week. You're going to have to wait till Monday night, though, for it to unfold.
All right, against the spread, lightning round, Fat Guy. Jets at Cleveland.
Oh, we're taking Jets, Jets.
Indy at Philly.
We're going to go with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Eagles.
Cincinnati at Carolina.
Cardiac Cats, 3 in a row.
Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Shahid Khan's Jaguars.
New Orleans at Atlanta.
It's Nolans, bro. How many times I got to say it, but I'm still going to take the Falcons.
Denver at Baltimore.
I'm going to take Edgar Allan Poe's Ravens.
The Giants at Houston.
I'm going to take the Giants with a backdoor cover.
Oakland at Miami.
I'm going to listen to the fan base. I'm not going to sleep on them Dolphins.
Green Bay at Washington.
Skins for sure.
Bills at Vikings.
Really Buffalo Bills.
San Francisco at Kansas City.
Pretty going long-winded for a lightning round. The Niners.
Chargers at Rams.
LAC.
Chicago at Arizona.
Arizona, I guess.
Cowboys at Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks.
New England at Detroit.
Matt Patricia, the Beard, and the Detroit Lions, unfortunately.
And for Monday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers at Tampa Bay.
a strong Steelers victory.
Bronies, that's it for us. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends about Big Ryan the Fat Guy, and good luck in Week 3.